Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome to this week's card video. I used a stamp set called Ice Cream from There She Goes. It's a really cute set. It's got a cute sentiment on it too. I started by taking my Ice Cream Sundae and using some Memento ink onto Neenah Solar White cardstock. And I colored the ice cream using Copics. For the vanilla it was a little challenging, so I actually used a brown color first. That was a brown E30, and then I went in with a pale yellow and I colored over my brown so it would have a yellow tint to it, and then I took a Y000, which is like a really light yellow, and then I went back in with that brown again. I'm just going to speed the second one, the second scoop up, so you can see where I put the dark areas, and then I went back in with my medium yellow, and then finally the lightest yellow, and back in with that little light brown. And then this chocolate scoop in the back, I just used two colors because it was such a small area. So just two browns. And if you want to know the exact numbers for all these markers, you can go to my blog post. I did the chocolate sauce in two different dark brown colors that were different from the chocolate ice cream, so you could tell them apart. So there's my darkest, and then I went back in with yet another dark color, but not quite so dark. And then I went back in and highlighted with that dark color again, like right where the drips were. So they look kind of rounded. And then I took a colorless blender and I created a light reflection, because your sauce is probably going to be shiny. I'm going to speed this up. I did the same technique on this one. There's my dark areas. And then my colorless blender. And then I decided to make the other scoop strawberry, so I took a pink color and I did all over coverage, and then I went back in with a dark red and I did the same kind of light pattern and then blended them together. So again, just two colors here, and then the colorless blender to remove some color. The bowl I did in four different colors of green. So I started with the lightest, then I went in with the second to the darkest, and then the second to the lightest. I know that's a little confusing. And then so the last thing I did really was the darkest color. So the technique is kind of start medium and light. So here I am doing it all over light. And then I'm going to start with my, not the darkest, but the second darkest, and I'll move back toward the light colors. So here's another medium. And now I'm going back in with the darkest color. So I saved the darkest for last. And now I'm doing all the parts of this bowl separately so that my ink doesn't dry in between, and so it stays a little wet and it's easier to blend. Okay, now I kind of put a little table shadow there, and I used W3 first, and then I went back in with some W1. I blended that out a little, and then I went in with my colorless blender right here, and I faded that out into the white. This is Wild Wasabi Stampin' Up! Ink, and I'm priming my applicator on a scratch sheet of paper just so I can get good coverage on my ink applicator before I put it onto my cardstock, and that'll help you avoid those rectangular marks. And so I start with very light pressure, and as the ink gets more, as I get more ink on the cardstock, then I'll apply more pressure. I'm going to do a tone on tone, so I'm going to ink up my stamp, this background stamp by Hero Arts with Wild Wasabi. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over so that it's backwards, and then I'm just going to stamp it again without re-inking. So I'll just kind of get a faded pattern. and just adds a little bit of texture. Now I'm going to take this scallop die from Spellbinders and cut that out through my Sizzix. Right now I'm going to take my sentiment and use some Versamark ink on chocolate chip paper from Stampin' Up! And white emboss it. And these sentiments from There She Goes are really small, but they emboss really nicely. You can really still read everything. Now this is the Modern Label Punch by Stampin' Up! And I'm going to mark the hole spots first before I take my hole punch. And then I'm going to thread that with some baker's twine. I'm just going to apply a little bit of adhesive and put it right there at the top. And then I'm going to wrap my edges around the back, but I'm going to separate them a little bit. I trimmed back my ice cream sundae piece because I didn't want it to show through it all. But then I realized I forgot to do the cherry, so I'm going to stamp that on some Neenah cardstock using Memento ink because I'm going to use Copics on it. And then I'm going to stamp it where I'm going to place it. And the reason I do that is so that I have the stem. And you'll see why I do that in a second. Anyway, so I start off with the pink color and then a red. And then I go back and blend with the pink. So just two colors. And then I use a colorless blender to create a little shiny light reflection spot. And I cut out the cherry portion and use my 2A glue pen to put it right there on the top. Because I didn't really want to cut out that stem. That'd be a little tedious. Alright, now I'm putting everything together on a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 folded cardstock. And then I'm going to stamp my sentiment on the inside, which says, "Coincidence? I think not." It's really cute. The front sentiment says, I can't remember if I said that to you or not, but it says, "Stress spelled backwards is desserts." And then I use some glossy accents for the cherry and the syrup, and I'm done. It's really cute. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.